At a time when New Delhi is facing a multi-pronged attack from Washington, whether it comes to the 50% tariffs over Russian oil imports, or now calling for a complete overhaul of the H1-B visa as well as the green cards to, in a sense, stop Indian immigrants from entering the US, and this is going to have a major impact on Indian students as well as Indian tech workers. So at this time, we're joined by Doug Rand, who's a senior advisor of the USCIS, who's also worked closely in the US immigration system, and was in fact also part of the previous Biden administration. Thank you so much, Mr. Rand, for joining us on NDTV. My first question really is the fact that at a time when we're seeing a war of words between New Delhi and Washington, in fact, over Russian oil imports, trade talks have been stalled. Do you think the Trump administration is now trying to use H1B visas as a negotiating tool, as a weapon, in fact, to get New Delhi on the table and to reach certain concessions in this in a tariff deal?
I think that's a natural question to ask. I would start by pointing out that I think these trade negotiations are not part of some grand strategy. They seem to be winging it day to day. It's possible that as far as immigration goes, there might be some demands from the Trump administration for India, like other countries, to accept people deported from the United States who are from a third country. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of the negotiations, but it's very hard for me to imagine that the Trump administration has any interest in concessions on their anticipated H-1B crackdown. I think they're going to pursue that regardless of any negotiations with India.
While the Trump administration, their stance has been that the reason for this reform in the green card system and the H1B system is to curb abuse of the US visa system. Do you think these measures are actually going to have any impact, help address these issues, or is this more superficial? Is this just part of the Trump administration's, in a sense, ideological crackdown on immigration, whether it's illegal or legal?
Sure. I think as someone who worked inside the Department of Homeland Security on H-1B and green cards for several years before this administration, I can tell you very confidently that fraud and abuse is a smokescreen that this administration is using to pursue an agenda that, frankly, most Americans don't agree with. Most Americans do not want to see massive restrictions on legal immigration. As we're seeing, most Americans don't like the way they're enforcing immigration laws against undocumented immigrants too, but that's another story. It's a very unpopular agenda, so they wave this flag of fraud and abuse, hoping that that will distract from what they really want, which is to restrict immigration of all forms. That means immigration from Latin America, it means immigration from Africa, it means immigration from India and China, unfortunately. So that's what's really going on. And I can tell you from my professional experience that to the extent there are real fraud and abuse issues, as there always are, they're really on the margins and they can be dealt with in ways that don't inflict pain on millions of people.
Given that Indian professionals, Indian tech workers pretty much make the backbone of Silicon Valley, of the US tech industry, how do you think this is going to impact US innovation? Do you think this is going to really impact the competitiveness of the US economy, of the industries, as compared to other countries such as China, if now Indian workers seek other countries, highly skilled workers, in fact, seek other countries apart from the US to go work and study?
Well, that's a great question. I think we should start by saying none of this should come as any surprise. During Trump's first administration, there was a similar crackdown on H-1Bs and legal immigration, an attempt to restrict immigration from India and other countries as much as possible. So this is really just more of the same. It's happening perhaps faster and more aggressively, but this is nothing new in terms of the extreme ideology of the people running immigration for Donald Trump. Now, of course, as your viewers understand, as most Americans understand, this is not good for the United States, as much as it's not good for Indian workers and experts who want to make their way in the United States, perhaps for a few years, perhaps for a lifetime. And so it's not just about the H-1B visa. It's about a whole range of policies that are trying to make the US government's processes more unwelcoming for talent from across the globe. And of course, it's going to have a bad impact on US innovation, US economic growth, US jobs. But unfortunately, the ideologues in charge don't believe any of that. They just think that any new immigrant is going to take a job from an American, which is not true. Any new immigrant, just like any new American, is going to grow our population and grow our economy and have a better chance of us creating new patents, new companies, new innovations. So unfortunately, this is again a very ideological administration that's pursuing goals that are really not going to make America great in any way.
Now, one of the key reforms that the Trump administration has recently proposed is limiting the duration of of how long students can now stay in the US based on the student visa, capping it to 4 years when there are several courses that run much longer. So, how do you think this is going to impact students? Do you think this is going to discourage them? And what sort of challenges do you think they would face, whether it comes to pursuing education or even post-work opportunities?
Yes, I think just by proposing this new rule, they're going to make the United States a less attractive destination for top talent from India and other countries. I want to be very clear with your viewers, though, that this is not in effect yet. This is a proposal. It's going to take them several more months to issue a final rule that would actually have any impact. And when they do that, I fully expect for there to be lawsuits to block the rule from going into effect. So this story is not over. The status quo system that we've had for the better part of a century in terms of giving Indian and other international students a visa that lasts as long as their course of study is still in effect and will be for the foreseeable future. But I can understand that this creates a lot more risk, a lot more hesitation, and it's really just a self-inflicted wound on the United States, I'm sorry to say.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick called the H1-B system in the US broken, and in fact called and has now even proposed that the system be moved away from the lottery-based system that's currently in effect and move towards one that prioritizes wages, that those applicants with higher wages should get priority in the H1B system. How do you think this is going to impact the system? Is this even legal?
I want to say, first of all, that anything Howard Lutnick says about the immigration system is highly suspect. The man clearly doesn't understand the difference between an H-1B visa and a green card, and the Commerce Department in the United States has no jurisdiction over immigration. So he's just a hype man for Donald Trump's immigration policies, and I think we can discount a lot of what he says. Now, getting to the substance of what you're saying, the actual proposal that we expect to come soon from the Department of Homeland Security, which actually does run part of the immigration system, would attempt to change what is now a random lottery for scarce H-1B visas and weight that lottery by salary so that people with the highest salary have the highest chance of winning the lottery. Now, let's start first by saying this is illegal. Even if one thought this was a good idea, Congress said very clearly that it's first come, first serve. And the only way to do first come, first serve when you have more demand than supply is through a random lottery. So as a legal matter, this is all a waste of time because they're going to get sued and they're probably going to lose. Now, would it be a good idea to weight H-1Bs by salary? Sounds good on its face, but actually would be disastrous because, as you know, and as your viewers know, the main way that the United States for decades has attracted the best and brightest from around the world is by having people come here to study. They come for an undergraduate degree or a master's or a PhD. And when they get their first job in the United States after that, guess what? By definition, they're an entry-level employee. They're starting their careers. They're not going to be making the highest salary, and that's entirely reasonable. So to try to choke off H-1B availability for the best and brightest who are getting started in their careers here is incredibly foolish. And I don't know whether it's due to malevolence or incompetence, but it's a very bad idea.
As someone who's worked in the US immigration system, what would be your one message or advice to Indian immigrants, Indian workers, students who are looking at the US as a possible destination to study and work and build a life, but who are now facing a lot of fear and anxiety over the uncertainties with the Trump administration's latest policies? What would be that one message or advice that you would like to give to our viewers?
My one very sincere message is I understand that this is a time of great fear and uncertainty, and the United States may be looking less attractive as a destination. But I hope, as an American, that you're able to stick it through and pursue your dreams in this country if that's what you want to do. This administration isn't going to last forever. We're a democracy. Presidents come and go. America is more than its government. America is all of the universities who still want you, the talented Indian nationals who want to come to the United States. America is the US students who want to be your peers. America is the companies and the investors who want your talent. America is the many people across the country in our cities and suburbs and rural areas who want to be your neighbors. That hasn't changed. So I really hope that even during this time of uncertainty, if you want to make it here, you still can. And I hope that you understand that most of America still welcomes you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rand, for joining us on NDTV. I think that was a wonderful message and a very key piece of advice to leave our viewers with at the end of this very important and very special conversation. This is Dishha Bagchi for NDTV.